Hey guys, this is Cody Jones with Jangus Genetics LLC. Just fed a few bulls today. These are bulls that are going to be for sale in a few months, and there's a little bit of age difference in here, and I'm giving them enough grain, just about 1% of their body weight, just to keep them growing, keep them gentle. If we sell them to a customer and their bull gets out, it's easy to shake a bucket and they come running. That's good peace of mind for us. I'm not sure I will always continue to do this, but I'm also selling my bulls, marketing them with my dad's, and a little bit of grain goes a long ways by sale day. And so being competitive there, sometimes customers don't understand, well, this one's never had a bite of grain, this one has. There's 100 pounds difference. That's a pretty big difference. So anyway, if we're selling them with dads, we give them a little grain, and it does like I said, it keeps them gentle and that kind of thing too. So we're going to continue on with our video series, and we're going to talk about numbers a little bit. So again, I want to mention the difference between terminal and maternal, and if you don't understand that, I understand, Google it. Check out my other video on terminal versus maternal, because that's very important for what we're talking about, what I'm looking for. I've got a maternal herd. Terminal, you're going to sell all your calves for the highest price at the market. You want to be as big as possible. Maternal, you're going to produce your own replacements. You want cows that are going to last a long time, not eat you out of house and home, and can do everything unassisted. So that's my goal. So with that being said, what do I look at on paper? And this is a touchy subject. I'm, I guess, a little cynical on some of it. Registered Angus have some very good tools. They have the potential to have some really great tools. That being said, the old adage on EPDs, expected progeny difference, is they're only as good and as honest as the people that enter them. So if somebody's lying on their papers, their numbers are totally worthless. There's some other things that I don't really understand about EPDs, and I've done a lot of research on it. So somebody that's new that's coming into this, buyer beware, I guess. Look at the cattle. The first thing I like to do, make sure they've got a semen test and they are able to breed, breeding soundness exam. Second thing, I want to look at the bulls. I want to pick my top one, maybe a top few. And then if they have numbers, they have EPDs. If you're buying from somebody reputable, or, at a big sale, or somebody who's been doing this for a while, really understands it, listen to them, ask them some questions, see what they really know, and try to understand their thought process on this. So I weigh all my calves. I don't have a scale, so I don't get the weaning weights and the yearling weights. I'm going to do that pretty soon. I think it's important, but I'm going to charge more for that. So most of our bulls are selling for about $2,020. I think we were up to $2,400 with registration papers. And most of our customers are commercial producers. They've got 10, 15 cows. They want something they could turn out, breed heifers, cows with, whatever, don't have to worry about it. And so that doesn't really add the value. These cattle are weaning good. Their yearling weights are fine. I'm not pulling calves out of them. And so if you don't care about any of that, you can listen to this video. It's good to know this stuff, but it doesn't matter, is what I'm trying to say. So that's birth weight. We'll ask about the birth weights. To me, that's the most important thing. Are you pulling calves? If they don't have the birth weights, ask them, are you pulling calves? What size are your cows? How are your heifers doing? Do you pull calves out of heifers? Is this bull heifer safe? Would you guarantee that? I know some people do that. I don't do that, but there's a lot of things that go into it. But starting with a small calf, and they're easier to flip them around. The presentation's usually better. It's just easier. Birth weight, weaning weight. This is where most of our Missouri customers are going to be cow-calf producers. They're going to wean a calf and they're going to sell it. So you want to have a good enough weaning weight, and for your cow size. 50% of your cow. A cow weaning 50% of her body weight is. Some people say it's ideal. Some people say they're not going to breed back as well. It's all about body condition. If they're at a 5 when they calve, you'll probably be okay getting them bred back. but you don't want to get a cow milked down real lean either. They're gonna slip a calf, or they're just not gonna produce as well. It's hard on them. So that's a good benchmark, is weaning 50% of your cow weight. 600-pound cow is gonna have an awful hard, 1,400-pound, 1,500-pound cow is gonna have an awful hard time doing that. If you're really concerned, get a terminal bull and just have a terminal herd. Buy your cows from somebody who's producing maternal genetics. If you're looking for the jack of all trades, keep it there in the middle. A 450 to 500-pound calf. The lighter the calf, the higher the dollar value they're going to sell for. So that's something to think about too. A 400-pound calf is going to bring more per pound than a 500-pound calf. I still like to see something 450 to 500 if you're weaning at 7 months. So that's important. Again, that's where most of my customers are making their money for the year. And I guess I would not sacrifice calving ease or birth weight to get a higher weaning weight, in my opinion. But you want to get as big a weaning weight as you can get away with, because that's the money. Yearling weight, most of my customers have sold their calves before that. If they're backgrounding them or whatever, that's important. Now, if they're keeping replacements, which is kind of where I want to specialize, then you want your weaning, at a year you want your cattle big enough to breed. So that's important too. So you might ask him, are your cattle breeding at a year? What age you breed them at? Because if you were breeding them at 2 years old, they're not early maturing enough for me. That's not going to make me any money. I know a lot of people breed cows at 2 years old. That's fine. But for me, I've lost a calf. The cow's going to have a harder time calving if she's easy keeping at all, because her body weight's going to be up. She's going to have a lot of body fat in the way. If you like to feed grain at all, you're gonna probably have to pull some calves even out of a calving ease bull. Just a lot of potential problems, and they're just sitting there not working. And for me, cows are a lot like rental properties. If they're not paying rent, they got to go. So that's something to think about. So outside of those three things, I lose a lot of practicality in my maternal herd. Most people selling maternal cattle don't have numbers on their EPD papers. So that's something to think about. But if you're turning in birth weight, weaning weight, yearling weight, you should have some birth weight, weaning weight, yearling weight EPDs. EPDs are the paper that comes along with registered cattle, and I think you can get them on some non-registered purebred Black Angus out of registered stock. Again, most of my customers don't care about the paper at this point. Doesn't make them breed any better. They don't really want to pay for it, but I go ahead and turn them in so that my cows are building some numbers, because I think it is a useful tool, especially if you are, keeping a few registered cattle back. And for me, I know where I'm at a little bit better. So I look at the Calving Ease Direct, and I'll do a video on looking at papers. But I do the Calving Ease Direct, which is the likelihood that you're going to have a calf on your own. The average for the Angus breed that I know of right now is a 7 plus 7. And so I don't want any of my cows to be below that. So that being said, all of my cows are below that up to 2 generations ago. And so my dad and grandpa, they have old genetics. They haven't turned in all the papers all the weights that we've been talking about. It's just an awful lot. Our customers don't care. It's not important to them. They just soon save $100 not buying with papers, which is an option at this time that my dad and grandpa are providing. Anyway, so most of my cows, all their EPDs are starting at 0. And so I've done some genomics, and maybe I'll make this the second part of the video, but I've done some genomic testing, which is DNA testing through hair samples is what I'm using. You could also use blood, tissue, whatever. And then the Angus runs them through their gene machine and says this is how this one compares to. So it's the equivalent of having 3 or 4 I don't know, everyone's a little different, but you've basically had a few generations of calves that you can compare. So they call them genomic backed EPDs. I think it's a neat tool. I used to laugh at it, and now that I've used it a little bit more, I have a little bit more faith in it. We had a bull that had a 0, and we DNA tested a couple of his calves, and they were like a -2 on Cavanese Direct, and I thought that was dumb. And we never pulled any calves out of him, so it wasn't an issue. We didn't register a lot of calves out of him, so his number didn't grow any. And so when they came back a -2 on one of the really good bulls, I'm like, that's kind of dumb. So we used him for a few years. I've got a few cows out of him, and they throw bigger birth weights. So I guess, again, we're not pulling calves out of him. I don't think a -2 is where he needs to be, but maybe I don't know. They're bigger. They're bigger. I'll say that. The genomics said they were bigger, and they're bigger. So that is what it is. The more calves you register out of them, usually for us, when I'm weighing them, the numbers just keep getting better. I've got a bull sire of some of these. It's a +14, I think is what he was. Last Friday they changed to. Sometimes they just throw, I don't know. Sometimes random things happen when you look online. You're like, that's weird. I don't know. Anyway, so he's a +14. I pulled a calf that had a wrong presentation. I blame the cow on that one. 1 out of 100 is not bad. We sold the heifer and moved on. I don't blame the bull for that, So he's probably pretty accurate, and he's now put numbers on all my heifers and all my bulls and that kind of thing. If you're playing the numbers game, that's something you got to look at, unfortunately. But his calves, for the most part, come pretty small. So Cavanese Direct, that's one that I'm paying attention to. Birth weight, they say there's more data out there. I've read in some, some of the sale books that I've been looking at, used to look at quite a bit. They said birth weight's the only thing you need to worry about. My grandpa always said a 2.2 is as big as you want to go on heifers. Most of mine now are, I don't know, -to 1.5. So that's something, to think about. If you're just breeding heifers, get a 0. The positive on birth weight is higher, and the negative is lower. So sitting somewhere there around 0, -1 to 1 is probably, I don't know, if you're, for somebody who's keeping data, yeah, that's fine. It's kind of where I want to be at. Again, I think you get them too small. I don't like seeing anything below 55 pounds, maybe 60 if I had a preference, but they don't give me one. They just kind of do what they want to do. So, yep. Then look at weaning weight, yearling weight on there. I'm not going to advise you much on that. I think, again, a lot of it's made up. The big ones that I'm hearing about are the $B value, the dollar cow. A lot of these things, I don't have any faith in that. I guess the $B one's fine if you're chasing terminal. For me, it has no value. Really, if it's too high, I know that my cows are going to be too big, and I don't want that. So I'd rather be in the bottom half than the top half on $B value at this point, because I'm not chasing big beeves. I'm chasing efficient cows that are going to make a profit. So if you're running terminal, chase the $B. I don't know. Most of our customers are selling at weaning, so I don't see that they gain any value out of the rest of that $B, the high $B. I don't know why they'd pay more for that. The dollar cow, I think, is not useful for what I want it to be. I think dollar milk should incorporate udder quality and teat quality, because I think that's something we're really lacking in the Angus breed. They did throw in foot scores, which again, they haven't been around long enough to, it just makes you wonder, are people just making stuff up? There's a lot of incentive to make stuff up. I guess I would say, in a lot of this stuff. And I'm sure that'll make some people mad. And again, I think that it's getting better. I think the genomics are helping. I think they are helping. But if you're trying to sell a $100,000 bull and you're going to score all his calves, and you want to continue to make him worth $100,000 or increase that, then you're going to report as positive a report as you can, I would think. So the incentives are where I get really iffy. Maybe that's just me. If you want to trust them, go ahead. But the more data is out there, the more people that are doing it, the more chances you are that it's going to correct over time. But I think it's important. I think those are things we need to watch, and I think that hopefully they become very accurate, because I would love to see all the foot problems go away. I would love to see us have better udder quality, longevity there. Those are important to me, things that I look at. I try to keep a score on. Cull for, foot shape, udder quality. That's what an Angus cow is. Ability to wean a calf. Yeah. And I think that milk is mostly based off weaning weight. And that's, fine. But for a maternal guy, it's hard to say that, that really big calf, that cow wean is gonna make you money over, more money than a cow that has a moderate amount of milk, raises a profitable calf that stays in the herd for 20 years. I think a longevity score would be great. I think udder quality, I don't know why they haven't done something with udder quality. I think that's horrible just justice. You're gonna take and make all these dollar values, and you're not gonna even look at udders. That bothers me. But nobody asked me, so I'll pay attention to it. I want my customers to have good udder quality, good feet and legs, good sound cattle for as long as possible. You got to figure out what's important to you and find out how much you trust the papers. And again, I think they're a tool, and I think I pay pretty close attention to that CED, that Cavanese Direct, and the birth weight when I'm buying bulls, because that's the big thing for my customers. I think that the genetic testing to match up mother to sire dam, if you're going to spend quite a bit of money on a bull, test him. Have him tested. Make sure he matches up with the sire and the dam that they say he does. You'd like to believe everybody had perfect paperwork and everything and that kind of stuff. But if you are producing registered calves and you buy a bull that doesn't match up to his daddy after you DNA test him after you've purchased him, or his calves don't DNA right, then that's like worst nightmare scenario for a registered guy. So those are things to think about. But papers are papers. They go so far, and they're a tool in the toolbox. They're not my first tool, they're not my second tool, but they are something I look at when I go buy a bull. So I don't want to overshadow it. I think most people are doing the best they can, and I think that most people are probably as honest as they can afford to be. But I think you need to ask questions, and you need to trust the guy that you're buying your cattle from. I think that's the most important thing. You need to ask around, see what these cattle are doing for people, see what they say about them. If you have the opportunity to talk to somebody who's been running their bulls for a few years, that they've seen the things that they need to see. They've got trust in the breeder still. Go buy a bull from them, try them out. It's worth a shot. And word of mouth has been our best sales tool, and our reputation, having being somebody that backs the bulls for our customers has brought us more customers back, and more customers from repeat customers than anything else we've done. So this is a long video. I'll break it up, but thank you guys for listening.